This is the limitless Keith Lee.
This is Brody King.
This is Angel Garza.
Will Ospreay.
Hornswoggle. Pentagon Jr.
The Mexican Ray Phoenix.
King Ricochet.
Concrete Rose, Sunny Kiss.
And I'm here to ask you to stop what you're doing, take just one moment, and bask in the glory of the Busted Wide Open.
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 Boston Wide Open.
Busted Wide Open. Thank you.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome everybody to BW Live, coming to you from across the Busted Wide Open universe of Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. This is the recap for AEW All Out. My name is Nick Howell.
Echoes of reggae coming through my bedroom wall. Oh, sorry. I had something stuck in my head there. I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and welcome to Busted Wide Open, our recap of All Out. My goodness, Nick, AEW put on a show tonight. If you didn't watch it and you're catching this and you have no idea what happened, buckle up. Buckle up. If you did watch it and you do know what happened, buckle up, because I'm sure you're already unbuckled because you flew out of the car seat. What an insane show. Lots to discuss, not only the things that happened on the show, but the ramifications, which I predict will ripple outwards to wrestling as a whole after tonight. Absolutely insane evening, Nick. We have so much to discuss. And we're just going to get into the big stuff off the top because we just can't wait for the end. We're going to talk about it right up front because we kind of have to. But before we talk about the big stuff, we got to do a little business, and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, indeed, guys. Linktree.com/BWO. If you've never been with us before, welcome. Welcome to Busted Wide Open. We've been running for a little over 4 years now. Thank you for joining us tonight for the breakdown of All Out and what we just finished watching. But Linktree.com/BWO is where you go to find all of our stuff. Facebook group, Discord. You can sign up for Patreon exclusive tiers at patreon.com/BWO. You can join right here if you're on YouTube by clicking that little join button. Get some emojis in chat. Sign up for one of our reward tiers there. Our memberships, you can get access to send in questions. Bonus episodes that we just did yesterday, really good one on the history of CM Punk. So that if you're not a $10 patron or a $10 member on YouTube, you can get that right now. You can get access to it right now. So head over to patreon.com/BWO or hit that little join button right underneath here on YouTube. And either way, you can get access to it. Ian, I don't want to waste any more time. I am so wound up. Linktree.com/BWO. You guys know where to find us at this point. Let's head over and break down just what went down on AEW All Out.
Like I said, normally with these kind of recappy things, we start at the beginning and move towards the end, and if there's a big thing at the end, we cover that. But we can't do that with this show.
Nope.
It's too big.
Yes.
It's just too big of a thing, so we're actually going to start at the end, talk about that, and then come back to the beginning and move through the show, because there's no other way we can do it.
Because I think everybody's here to see us mark the hell out and talk about what the hell happened at the end of the show.
Yeah, so let's talk about the last match of the show, which honestly I felt it stood out because almost every other match on the show, with the exception of I'll even throw in the second last match right now.
Yeah.
Second last match of the show was Paul White versus QT Marshall, and it had no business being on the show. I'll say it.
It gave everybody a chance to go take a whiz before the next hour.
But the problem is that what came after was Christian versus Kenny Omega, and that match to me seemed like it was fait accompli. I didn't feel like there was enough heat behind the match. Like, it was just kind of there. They'd done a fairly good job of building it, but not enough for it to have headlined this pay-per-view, where the rest of the show, as we'll talk about later, was absolutely spectacular. Yeah. They had match after match after match that was entertaining, or in some cases outright classics. And then for Kenny Omega Christian to go last, look, it was a good match. Both guys are incredible in-ring workers, and it was an incredibly worked match, and it deserved to be on any pay-per-view. But it was in a tough spot, headlining this pay-per-view. It was not Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. It didn't have a fraction of the heat. I think most people who had thought about things realized Christian wasn't going to win this. And so it was basically a half an hour of, okay, how is Christian going to lose this? And we had some great spots. There were some big table spots on the outside that were immense. Both guys kicked their own asses. I mean, it was incredible. And the only way that Kenny could put Christian down was to, first of all, interference from, of course, Gallows and Anderson, and then Don Callis got in to distracted Christian one last time. Enough time for Kenny Omega to recover, hoist Christian up for an avalanche top rope, one-winged angel. Dear God Almighty, that will keep you down. And that was it for Christian, 1, 2, 3. And at that point, I went, well, that match was there. It was fine. It just, the rest of the show was so much better. And I think if it had gone off air then, I would have said this is a great show that ended with a wet fart. And again, it was a fine match. Both guys worked their asses off, and it was a great match, but it needed something more. Luckily, AEW had an ace up its sleeve, and Kenny Omega started saying, well, that's it. I've beat everybody. No one else is on my level. No one can beat me, because they're either not here, they're tired, or they're dead. A nice little nod to the fact that Adam Cole in BTE is dead. And of course, what should happen? But the lights go out, and out comes Adam freaking Cole, baby. He decided that he was not going to see WWE's offer. He wanted to keep his Twitch channel, and so he came over to AEW, walked down to the ring to a thunderous ovation, gets in the ring. They cut the music. By the way, his new theme bangs so much harder than the new theme they gave him in NXT.
Yup.
Just so much harder. It's on the level of the Undisputed Era theme, perhaps better. I don't know yet. I have to hear it more. It just happened. Leave me alone. But he gets in the ring. They cut the music perfectly for the loudest Adam Cole Bebe we've heard since he debuted in NXT. And everyone's just like, oh my God, Adam Cole is all elite. He faces off with Kenny Omega, the Bucks. We have a tense stare down. And then they all start cracking up and give each other hugs because, of course, they do. Adam Cole is all elite. He's elite. He's old school.
Not until after he super kicked Jungle Boy.
Yeah, well, that's how he turned. Yeah, he super kicked Jungle Boy, and then it was like, haha, they started kissing each other. And like, what did you think? He gets a mic. He's like, what did you think was going to happen? Come on, man. Kenny Omega grabs the mic as well and says, well, there you go, everybody. Did I do that? Got you, fooled you. By the way, yeah, everything I just said still stands. And so, of course, I'm going to take you out of here. I bid you a fond adieu. So long, good night, bang. But he doesn't get to the bang, Nick, because as he's gloating as the newly reformed complete elite, which is what they should call themselves if they're listening, complete elite. As they're all gloating in the ring, Kenny Omega goes to throw out the gun and send us all home. The lights go out again. And goddammit, Flight of the Valkyrie starts playing.
Wagner. It's always Wagner. It comes in when you least expect it.
The Wagner starts playing, and the crowd, I mean, those poor bastards had been there for 4 hours, and they blew up.
Twice.
Blew up like an atomic bomb. Again.
So we were hearing yes chants when the beatdown was happening after the match. You could hear the crowd start yes chanting.
Everyone knew
already.
there had to be something. After that match, with the beatdown of Christian and Jungle Boy and everyone, there had to be something, right?
Yeah.
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus running into to run the safe. They knew there had to be something going on. There was an angle. And so then Adam Cole debuted, and they're like, oh, it's Adam Cole. And then the Wagner plays, and out comes Bryan freaking Danielson. Formerly known as
that again.
Daniel Bryan. Comes out, chases all the bad guys from the ring, stands tall with Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian. Just murders Nick Jackson. Kicks him in the chorus to just around everyone in the audience doing the yes chants. What are they going to do about yes chants? Those are technically owned by WWE.
You can't keep the crowd from doing it.
He can't go yes, 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 but that's true. You can't stop the crowd from doing it. But
notice he never did that.
No, he can't.
No.
He just kind of want to put his hands out. But he kicks the crap out of Nick Jackson. Everyone's happy. He stands tall at the end of the show and goes home. Afterwards, in a press conference that we caught real quick before this show, he said, I'm here in AEW for 3 reasons. 1, because of the fans. I loved where I used to work, but I'm still here. 2, the talent. You know, I came here for all this talent. Like, if you're wondering why people like me and CM Punk and Ruby Soho are showing up here, Did I say that? It's because the talent that's in the back.
Yeah.
And we want to work with them. And he said, third, I'm here because I'm a professional wrestler.
They're
and
answering the Punk signal, by the way, that I've been referencing the last couple of weeks.
Well, and this is the thing. It's more than that. Like it's been going on for longer than that, I feel.
Yeah.
He says, I'm here because I want to wrestle. And the place I was before, I loved where I was before, but I could not I wasn't even supposed to say wrestling there. I still said it anyway, but I wasn't supposed to. But I'm here to goddamn wrestle. I'm here to do professional wrestling. And I'm going to goddamn wrestle. That's what he said at the get the goosies. Nick, it's official. And I'll spoil it right now. I just kind of did. But we had another debut early in the night. Ruby Soho showed up in the Women's Battle Royale. And won the damn thing. Yeah. With, by the way, so Ruby Riott, now known as Ruby Soho. And goddamn it, Tony Khan went out and he bought the Rancid song. He licensed the Rancid song, Ruby Soho, for her to come out to, which just... I marked out as almost as much for the song as I marked out for her when she walked out. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
So perfect. It's so goddamn perfect. And to see her face when she walked out to that song and the crowd blew up for her and started chanting her name and she starts like breaking down. Like she's like, I'm supposed to be wrestling. She starts breaking down because she's never had a pop like that. Ever. And people were so happy to see her. But there we are, Nick. By the time this show was done, Ruby Soho, Adam Cole, and Daniel Bryan are in AEW, and CM Punk has had his first match back in 7 years. And we'll talk about that later in the show. Mother of God.
Here's the thing I want to talk about before we get into the matches.
Yes.
I felt something tonight that I have not felt in a really long time.
What's that?
And CM Punk has said it recently. A love for professional wrestling, for the business of professional wrestling.
He quoted himself on Twitter. Like I've lost it, but he quoted himself on Twitter when he said, "I don't think I love this anymore." And he from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And he said, "I love professional wrestling tonight." He quote tweeted himself.
Listen, this is the biggest Russell Crowe, "Are you not entertained?" kind of moment maybe ever for professional wrestling fans. They
hit this show and those debuts out of the goddamn park. We had rumors that Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan was coming out. I bet that he was going to come out with our pick'ems. I bet he was coming out on the show because all the rumors were just so solidly like, yes, he's coming out there.
Yes.
Adam Cole was heavily rumored, but obviously still a surprise. The last thing we'd heard, he was still in negotiations with both companies. Frankly, him going to AEW is just no surprise at all. Chris, in the match with Chris Statlander and Britt Baker earlier in the night, she hit a Panama Sunrise. They're calling it a Pittsburgh Sunrise, but she hit a little like winking Panama Sunrise in her match just to get the crowd all. Ooh. It makes sense why he would go there. He has nothing left for him in NXT, and he's too small for the main roster. Like he would get buried on the WWE main roster. And we said this. We said if he's smart, he will go to AEW. And that's not, there's no hating on WWE there. That's just business.
Yep.
From a business standpoint, he belongs in AEW. But from a business standpoint, Nick, what do you think about AEW going forward in terms of the potential that it has to put eyes on itself now that it has freaking CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and more?
Oh, we're not even done yet. Before we have that big conversation, we have to talk about what happened in the Jon Moxley Satoshi match.
Well, that's what's so crazy is that
to me is a mule kick of the forbidden door. They just it just got kicked off its hinges, folks.
But it's going in both directions now. Like you're getting, in my like the way I conceptualize it, the forbidden door to me is for the hardcore of hardcore fans, right?
Yes.
A lot of people who saw the Jon Moxley Satoshi Kojima match didn't know who Satoshi Kojima was. A lot of people didn't know the person that came out to challenge Jon Moxley after that match, which I cannot freaking wait to talk about.
Sorry.
I cannot wait to talk about that, but we're not going to talk about that yet. Most people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So to me, that's for the hardcores who are freaking out about that.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Opposite direction. Yeah, just real quick. I'm just going to say opposite direction is the mainstream stuff. Daniel Bryan's one of the most famous people in WWE. The
Right.
yes chant is one of the few things in the last 10 years that truly broke through in wrestling to the common experience, to pop culture. He's huge. He might be bigger than CM Punk. CM Punk's big in wrestling. Daniel Bryan might be bigger in an overall sense. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
There was a moment, and I think I actually stood up out of my chair because Kenny gave his speech after the match. He said, I've already passed them. They're dead, or they're retired, or they're already dead. And the lights dropped, and there was a moment where I was preparing my internals for the coin drop. Because we had seen Satoshi Kojima, we had seen him, the other one, and I was preparing myself. Oh, everybody thinks it's going to be Adam Cole or Bryan Danielson. Cling, 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 cling. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, God. Could you imagine that roof? Like, it came off for Cole and Danielson, but that place would have come unfreaking glued if Kazuchika Okada had come out just to renew the 5-year-old feud at this point.
The reason I knew he wouldn't is because he's in the G1 and that starts very soon.
course.
And just with COVID protocols, there's no way he could pull it off.
Right.
And the person that did come out we already knew was in the States because he's got matches of the entire next month and a half in the States. So he was here.
But I just wanted to say there was part of me that wanted that so bad. My guts tied up into a knot real quick when my head realized that might happen and the lights went out.
when that and here's the thing, Nick, I need you to realize when that does happen, because it's when that does happen, you'll have that moment. But you also had tonight, and this is the crazy thing about the potential of AEW to make fans of wrestling, to make fans of professional wrestling excited, is that you can all the potential. You can have nights like tonight where we sit here and go, Jesus Christ, what can they do in this company with Bryan Danielson, with CM Punk, with all these guys off the chain? Look what they've done with Miro, right? Took him a while, a little rough start. He is what we always wanted Rusev to be.
Yep.
He's exactly what we always wanted Rusev to be. He's still funny and entertaining, but he's also goddamn terrifying.
He's evolved from the Bulgarian brute character that we all kind of fell in love with.
This is like Uber. This is final form Bulgarian brute that he's at right now. Like this, it's literally everything I wanted him to be.
Yeah.
And he became that in AEW. And so I'm looking at everyone else who's coming there, and some people are still finding their way. I love what they've done with Christian. Like I said, the match itself was just there. I felt like it was almost like they had to have that match just because they couldn't do Hangman Page, and they just had to have something. And Christian was as good as anything, and it made for a really well-worked match. But Christian what they're doing with him is fantastic. They've handled him very well. They're handling everyone really well.
I'm finally starting to catch my breath.
Same. Mother of God. So
I got a lot of catching up to do when we're ready to start talking about matches.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so I don't even know. I'm still wrapping my head around it because they just went off the air with that. And so we're still kind of catching our breaths, as you say.
There's part of me that wants to talk about what this means. I mean, we've said multiple times with other debuts that have come out, WWE, you're on notice. Where does this stop? Where I feel like they hit bang, 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 1, 2, 3, perfect kind of stuff tonight. And it's not just about WWE, as I said it before.
Right.
We had in New Japan stuff happening tonight. The Forbidden Door got mule-kicked off its hinges tonight in a big way, if not previously at New Japan Strong here in or Resurgence, excuse me, in LA. So I'm sitting here going, meanwhile, we're doing splatter paint logos over WWE, and I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm trying to be real here. I'm trying to talk like somebody's got a different idea of what things should be like over on the other side of the river. These guys are nailing it. Like we've thought they nailed it before. They are absolutely nailing it. I love professional wrestling again. This is what I watch wrestling for. This is what I've always been a fan of wrestling for. God, is these kinds of moments.
This feeling. of excitement.
Something
Yeah, I agree.
special is about to happen, and I'm here for it.
Well, let's talk about that real quickly, because I one thing that we definitely want to espouse is not having the toxicity of
Right.
lol WWE AEW kicked your ass tonight, because that's not the mentality I take on it. Like, WWE made business decisions and as a result, these people came over to AEW, and WWE's loss is their gain. Fair enough, but that's about where it ends. I feel like this is more about the potential of AEW than it is about AEW versus WWE. It doesn't have to be a wrestling war, and that's something that we've talked about, and that's going to become a theme. Is this doesn't have to become a wrestling war unless we make it a wrestling war. Like, I obviously at a certain point, we'll know when Vince starts feeling like AEW is a threat. I feel like they've just treated it like another organization up until now. And this hasn't become as ugly as the business practices during the Monday Night Wars, where you could say it was a wrestling war. But at the same time, like, I don't want the dialogue on our show to be, about how AEW is kicking so much more ass than WWE, and WWE is making these, dumb creative decisions like splatter paint. That's WWE is making business decisions based on what it thinks is going to work. And if it's wrong, then it's going to pay the penalty itself, and it has nothing to do with us. And I don't really want to sit here and laugh if they fall while someone else succeeds, and vice versa. If sure. AEW has an exploding barbed wire death match, or Chris Jericho falls off a cage and it looks terrible, or Matt Hardy almost breaks his head open. Yeah, I don't want to sit here and be like, ha ha ha, WWE won this one, because that's not what it's about. I feel like in this moment on this show, AEW hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
And they have acquired some new talents that WWE was not able to retain, that are going to make AEW a much more exciting place to experience, to watch. And I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. I'm going to watch both. And if NXT, the rebrand, is exciting, then cool. Like, if it might not be my aesthetic, but I can also understand if people are getting excited about the aesthetic and it comes back and it's an exciting, fresh new take on what NXT could be, or a developmental brand could be, then I'll be excited for it. So
I guess what I wanted to say was this is something that I haven't felt in a long time. And it's not that I'm like, woe is me, WWE. It's not what I'm trying to imply.
Sure.
We watch all of it. And I think that's the beauty of it.
We do.
I get back to the thing of like, come over. It's cool. It's okay over here. It's not that you're not going to get burned by, oh God, I touched the AEW. Right? It's okay, right?
Well, sure. There's like, deep-seated tribalism. People just don't want to experience anything new, and they've got cognitive dissonance when it comes to anything that's not what they love.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like,
and I'm not going to change those people's minds,
No,
what I mean?
and that's fine. Like, they'll get there on their own. Not every album you listen to you're going to love the first time. Like, that's
right.
Fine. Okay. But my point at the end of the day is that if you, I don't know. I like you said, Nick, this is what I watch professional wrestling for, is this feeling that I'm having right now.
Yeah.
Is I'm excited about what comes next. I'm excited about possibilities, about potential. And anytime that I experience that is a wonderful thing. And right now, dear God, AEW is making me excited.
I'll throw one more in there. You know what I feel? I feel satisfied.
Yeah.
I spent
$50
tonight on a pay-per-view with high expectations, and they delivered. And I feel satisfied. I have zero regrets for every dollar, every cent that I spent on that. And I can't say that about every AEW pay-per-view to date. That's satisfied and excited for what's to come after. That is one thing that I've been waiting to really feel about a big pay-per-view for a long time, is satisfied. So let me catch up real quick, then we can go down the card and talk about each thing individually. We had a Nick Guard 1 sighting. Yardy picked up a BWO Funhouse Mickey blanket.
Nice.
Holy smokes, that's the first one of those we sold. Please be sure and post pictures of it. I'd love to see what it looks like. I haven't seen one of those yet. Thank you very much, Yardy. Scottish Saint threw in 300 bits, said 5:15 a.m. here in Scotland. That was 20 minutes ago, so it's probably about 5:30 now. So I can't stay long, but hot damn, what a show. I've not felt so excited about wrestling in a long time. Yeah. Thank you very much, Scottish Saint. Well said.
Thanks for staying up, man.
Woo,
Appreciate it.
That's tough. And
From the
and
blood.
shout out and props to Ross and Tom and the What's Culture guys and Cultaholic team and everybody over there in the
Everyone over
UK that's up right now making
And
videos at
Yardy.
6 o'clock in the morning.
And Yardy, what's Yardy doing up? He's in Belgium.
Buying our merch. I love it, man. But
Oh, you
everybody
guys
in
are
Europe and
maniacs.
the
I love
UK that stays up till, I cry about having to stay up till 8 o'clock in the morning watching New Japan during the G1 especially. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
5 nights a week of 8 a.m. mornings. But no, it's props to you guys and props to our brothers in action doing wrestling shows till the early wee hours of the morning.
Amen.
Kyle Cotton threw in 100 bits, said I was tired and read it on Twitter. Couldn't imagine watching the whole thing live. What? Okay. This pay-per-view sounded like the biggest Thanksgiving dinner ever, and you get the full stomach misery on the come down. What?
I
haven't started coming down yet. We'll see.
I've got I don't even have the itis yet. I'm still on like the cranberry sauce.
Yeah,
high.
I'm going back for thirds.
It was a lot, Kyle. I'm not gonna lie. It was a lot, but like we've sat through 7-hour WrestleManias.
Yeah.
Compared to that, this was nothing. It flew by. We had 3 matches left, and I looked at my watch. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
I could do more.
I didn't pee for 4 hours. I couldn't get up. There was no breaks.
We started the show later than we wanted to because Nick and I had to go expunge.
I was doing the Austin Powers pee. Evacuation complete. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Jeff
JB
Danielson, Dumb
gifted
and
a
Dumber.
tier 1 sub to Jack Slayton 2007. Jack, make sure you thank JB for your gifted sub. Thank you very much, JB, for throwing that in. Milsky45 threw $20 in the tip jar. Dude.
Whoa.
Milsky, thank you very much. Says, holy shit, yes. The Cole heel turn was perfect. Jungle Boy versus Cole, put it in my eye holes.
Jungle Boy versus Cole with Daniel Bryan in his corner, running in for tag teams.
Daniel Bryan versus Cole. Jungle Boy versus Cole. Tag team matches, Elite versus Daniel Bryan. Maybe Bryan Danielson joins Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy in Jurassic Express for a 6-man tag.
Nick, what have they been? What has Tony Khan been teasing for most of the
6-man
year?
tags.
Triple threat, three-man tag belts.
Trios titles.
Who's got 3 men? Yeah, trios titles. Adam Cole and the Young Bucks make a trio. I'm just saying.
They did just. I don't want to spoil it. Thank you very much for the 20, Milsky. Oh, thank you very much, man. Keeping that tip jar alive. I love you guys.
Yeah.
And finally, Jay Wolf threw in 100 bits, said, I bought the pay-per-view, then got called into work. Now Bleacher Report is not letting me watch the replay. Give it time. They will. They take about an hour to process it, and then it'll be available on demand. So I'm listening to you guys for my fix. You guys rock. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Jay Wolf. Appreciate it, man. Shout out to everybody over on YouTube. Got a big crowd over on YouTube. I see you guys over there. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Jay, I see you in the chat. Thank you, man. Okay, let's break this thing down. Let's talk about what went down tonight on AEW All Out.
Feels like a big come down after all that to talk about the pre-show. But it was a fun pre-show. We had Hardy Front Office, Matt Hardy, Private Party, and the Hybrid 2 versus the Jurassic Express and Best Friends team up with Wheeler Yuta in there for the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Chucky T with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. It's exactly what we said it was in the preview show. It was a fun match. All kinds of crazy spots. It was just, when you think of the cliche AEW match, where it's supposed to be a tag team match, but it's just tornado tag. There are no rules. Guys get in there and do spots just because, and the crowd goes, oh! Mm-hmm. That's what this match was.
Yeah.
And it was a ton of fun. That was it. It was just a fun match to get the crowd warmed up. So, yeah, I just wish that it's one thing with AEW. Like, everyone makes fun of their lack of tag rules. Just stop. Just say it's a tornado tag.
Let go of the wheel, Jesus.
Fine. Let go of the wheel, man.
Jesus, take the wheel. Just have fun. The best part of this whole thing was at the end, after everybody won, they did the super best friends pull out and perfectly timed with Excalibur. You got to give the people what they want.
Well, we had an extended beatdown of Orange Cassidy after this. Everyone left. Orange Cassidy was still hanging out and soaking up the love from the crowd, and the entire Hardy Front Office kicked the crap out of him, including a returning Butcher who showed up to demolish him, and they were about to cut his hair. Jack Evans had a pair of scissors. We're going to cut Orange Cassidy's hair. And all of the guys came down, all of the Best Friends, the rest of Jurassic Express, the Varsity Blondes, they all come down.
Dark Order members came down, everybody.
Tons of people came down. There's a big good guy love fest in the middle of the ring, and they did the pull out on it. It was beautiful, and the crowd was just like, "Oh, yay!" But like we said, we both called this, Nick. We thought it was going to be a good guys warming up the crowd, and it's exactly what it was. So no need to really dwell on it, but it was just a fun little thing that happened.
Yes.
And then at the beginning of the show, I was surprised this opened the show, but then they got into the match, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a perfect opener for the show." Eddie Kingston versus Miro pulled the curtain for the TNT Championship. I gotta say, thinking back over the show, and there was a lot of good matches. There were some great matches on the show. One in particular is I think people will remember as being a classic.
Yes.
This
it will
might
go
be
down in history if it's the one I think you're referring to.
Yeah, it's the one it is the one you're thinking of.
Yep.
This might have been my favorite match of the show, though. I freaking loved this match. I loved the psychology of they've built it up where, Eddie, like Miro's weak point might be his neck, and Eddie's like, if that's what it is, I'm just going to target it. And I have so many neck moves in my repertoire, I'm just going to target it, and then I just have to survive Miro in the meantime. And that's all the match was Eddie busting out like 4 pillars of New Japan moves and surviving Miro, and then just, throwing big neck moves on Miro and trying to get a pin. And the ending of this match was one of the more unique endings that I've seen. And it was so brilliant because it protected both guys and put all the heat for the loss on the ref, which was Bryce Remsburg in this match, who we know, I posted him doing Invisible Man versus Visible Stan earlier today. Like, he's an incredible physical worker himself. He used to be a wrestler himself, but he's also just his physical control is incredible. He's great at mime and all the rest. And the way he worked at the end of the match, where at one spot Eddie gets pulled off of the turnbuckle and he accidentally pulls out the cover of the turnbuckle. Let's go, it's flying. And Remsburg goes to pick up the pad, and as he's going to the outside, he doesn't see. Let me actually get exactly what happened here.
Okay.
Let's see, because it was so quick, and I saw it only once. I didn't get to watch it again because it was just such a beautiful, beautiful little sequence of events. So Miro realized that the turnbuckle pad's off. Kingston gives him the DDT. Miro kicks out of the DDT. Kingston goes for a pile driver. Miro blocks it. We get Kawada kicks on him, and as Eddie goes to throw him in the corner, Remsburg is in the way because he's dealing with the pad.
Yeah.
He is left to deal with the pad, and he's in the way, and so he actually gets in the way of Miro going into the corner. And while Bryce is trapped in the corner dealing with Miro mule kicks Eddie, low blows him, and then is able to beat him. It gives him like a 2-rope Machka kick. So just the placement of everyone to be in the right place so that sequence could happen. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing it justice describing it because it was so quick, and the way that they angled themselves and put themselves in the right position so that it could feel like Bryce was out of position for the pin. Eddie had Miro with that DDT, had him dead to rights. But because Eddie was off dealing with the turnbuckle pad, he was out of position, and it took like 8 seconds to get back into position. And so the entire crowd blew up and was screaming at him saying, "You effed up, like, that was 3. Because, when was the last time you saw that happen when the ref didn't actually screw up, but the crowd gets hot at him for a kayfabe reason? And then he screws up again by being in the way in the corner and allowing the mule kick. Oh my God, that crowd was ready to kill Bryce.
To open the show. This is how we opened the show, by the way.
But it was brilliant because the crowd was so invested in the match. They were so behind Eddie, and it made it feel like Eddie had Miro dead to rights.
Yeah.
It made you go, Eddie totally is on that level. He just didn't get lucky tonight, and the ref screwed him. It's one of the best ref screw jobs I've seen executed in as long as I can remember. It truly felt like the ref screwed up. And I loved it. And the rest of the match was so hard-hitting and fun, and both the guys have great facial expressions. It was just a fun match, a hard-hitting match. Miro's chest was just black and blue on the one side where Eddie was smacking him, giving him full-on New Japan chops. Oh, so good. Loved this match. Yeah. So, Nick, who now what? Eddie lost. Who do you get from Miro now?
Miro continues to reign.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad if we revisited, throw Bryan Danielson in there.
I could see that down the road. Absolutely. That would not surprise me. And
I want him to spend the next 3 weeks just cutting more video package promos. Just keep calling dudes out and talking about how much your God has blessed you with a flexible wife. All that stuff, right? Also, props to Eddie for making one comment on Rampage and having a T-shirt 2 nights later.
I mean, you can't.
He comes down to open the show with a "Redeem These Nuts" T-shirt on from Rampage.
Make that a T-shirt. Print the shirt. It's like Jericho. Jericho says something off the cuff and goes, "That's a shirt."
Yep.
And of course, Miro tweeted afterwards. He said, "Redeem these nuts," and then his wife Lana tweeted back at him, "I will later tonight," because
I can't wait to hear that promo next week.
They're adorable.
But how his nuts got redeemed.
I'm just gonna say this right now for the pick'ems. We only disagreed on one, and only one of us could win that. And we already talked about that. It was the Paul White and QT Marshall match, which was basically just Paul White beating up QT Marshall and all his boys, and that was it. That was the match. No one came out, no gun club, no advancement of the feud. It was a nothing. Yeah. And it didn't belong in the show. I thought that was the only wart on this show.
Yep.
And that's when we disagreed on. You picked QT Marshall. I picked Paul White. Aside from that, we were all pretty much on the same page.
Yep.
And we only got one wrong. We only got the women's battle royale wrong because we just both took flyers on that.
Yeah. I could have swore you were going to take Ruby and I talked you out of it.
You did.
Okay.
Asshole.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was going to take Anna Jay, I think. Just to be fair. I think I was going to take Anna Jay.
Okay.
I
definitely had Thunder Rosa down. I mean, it got close. It was looking like it was going to be her. I'm not surprised they gave it. Well, let's talk about that when we get there. We're jumping around.
Jay Wolf throwing 100 bits in the chat says, talk of Eddie getting a rematch in New York.
Yes.
Kyle Cotton with 100 bits. Thank you, sir. He says, ask and you shall receive. Your nuts have been redeemed. Miro on Twitter. Yeah, that's what he said. Sorry. Thank you. And then Lana posted, like, I'm going to redeem yours later or something like that. So just, oh, God. Let's talk about the next match. Jon Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima. What's to say? I kind of felt like the only downside here was that they put this match right after the first match. And the first match, I think I said in chat, Nick, was like a New Japan match on cocaine.
Yeah.
And then this was just like a New Japan match.
Right.
Which is, after that first match, it's just kind of like a
little slow burn.
A little slower. It was fine. It was a good match. It was a very good match. It was fun. Kojima, it still looks like a stud.
Yeah, he does.
An absolute stud. But I don't feel like they gave him enough in this match to really endear himself or engender himself to a Western audience. Like, he's cooler than what he came out with in this match because they couldn't have him beat Moxley. Do you know what I mean? Did you feel that way? Did you feel like Kojima was just kind of there?
We have these kinds of matches from time to time, mostly on TV, where they're there to set up something else. And I feel like the highlight of this is what happened after the match, not the match itself. Not to say that it was bad.
I agree.
Not to say that it was unnecessary, but it served the purpose of setting up what happened after the match.
Well, let me put it this way. When Yuji Nagata came out and they opened the show, Moxley and Nagata, I truly felt like after that people were like, dude, Nagata's badass.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they felt that way about Kojima after this match. And that's too bad because he's badass in the same way as Nagata. He even threw in some of the Mongolian chops that supposedly his tag team partner, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, is supposedly no longer allowed to use because the great, what's his name? The great, I've been watching New Japan in too long. Great Okan. Stole from him. Yeah, Great Okan stole him from him. But so that was cute. He was calling out his tag team partner at the end there. But again, it didn't feel like he got over in the same way that Nagata did. And I felt like that was down to the match structure. He never got to pull off the real lariat. He only got to do the offhand lariat. So I don't know. It didn't feel like a good moment for him. But as you said, what happened afterwards was really where the story's at. Because Moxley stands up from the battle, and as he's dusting himself off, if you will, what should happen? But Kaze ni Nare starts playing.
Oh.
And they cut to Jon Moxley's face, and he just goes all Triple H in Madison Square Garden where Cactus Jack comes back. He gives the wide-eyed look and goes, oh, fuck.
Sorry. I was late.
And it's great because, so we've talked about this. We said, well, will they go back to Moxley and Minoru Suzuki? Because we've already seen this. John Moxley has already faced Minoru Suzuki since he's been, out on the loose. And yes, he's faced Minoru Suzuki in Japan. He hasn't faced him in the U.S., and he hasn't brought him through the Forbidden Door. But apparently the Forbidden Door was ready for him.
Yeah.
Because that crowd blew the hell up.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Suzuki walks down the ring, and as he gets into the ring, the whole crowd, Kaze ni Nare, loud as can be. I love the way Suzuki walked out, too, Nick. He's coming down, he comes out the heel tunnel. Like, just very slowly comes out. He's got the Suzuki Gun tracksuit on.
Yeah.
Looks just like like what he should look like. Murder grandpa.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about Jimmy Snuka. I'm talking about Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, come on.
Shots
fired. Jesus.
All I'm going to say is I've been waiting for this moment. You talk about your Forbidden Door. I've been waiting for Minoru Suzuki to come through that Forbidden Door for a while. So
what's the thing that's all the rage now? You've been manifesting it. You've been
manifesting.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
I've been manifesting. I've been manifesting my universe for a while now.
This is what I was referring to at the beginning of the show when I was saying the Forbidden Door to me. This was kind of the thing. We kind of got a little bit of this with Tanahashi and Lance Archer. Tanahashi winning the U.S. title off of Lance Archer. It felt, and him inviting him to come to AEW at some point. It felt like that was the beginning. That was them pushing the door open. Minoru Suzuki walking out on arguably the biggest pay-per-view in AEW history so far feels like it's mule kicking the Forbidden Door off its hinges.
I think that might just
Only
be because
could be
our
outdone
fandom.
By Kazuchika Okada's coins dropping.
Or Tanahashi or Ibushi, or there's a lot of bigger guys than Minoru Suzuki.
Naito, absolutely.
Naito, big one. Like, there's a lot of guys bigger than these guys. Like, Suzuki is a big presence. Obviously, he's a huge presence in professional wrestling. Probably more of a presence in the West than a lot of New Japan guys because he's come over here for a lot of dates and whatnot outside of New Japan because he's only been with New Japan for a little while now. And he did a lot of stuff before that. Also his mixed martial arts stuff before that. Like he's a well-known figure outside of New Japan. And a lot of wrestling fans know him outside of New Japan. Whereas I feel like Nagata and Kojima are very much like they are New Japan dudes. Kojima, he's Japan dude for the most part, unless you're really old and you remember him being in the original NWO. But the point is that Suzuki is a big deal for Western audiences, but he's still like in that echelon of New Japan dads, right? He is a older classic wrestler in New Japan. You start getting those younger stars, your Tanahashis, your Ibushis, your Okadas, that's when I'm going to say it's off the hinges. This is a big deal for us as fans.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of companies working together, Suzuki's not a big player in New Japan from a New Japan company standpoint.
Okay.
They can let him go and go through this Forbidden Door. It's not a big deal. It's when the top guys start going through that it's a big deal. Do you see what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So when your coin drops, that's when the doors are off the hinges.
And I'll just be over here going,
yeah, me too. I'm gonna need to get a beeper for that too.
Oh.
So Suzuki comes down to the ring, faces off with Moxley. It is an amazing moment. Suzuki takes off his jacket. He looks terrifying as he should. If you don't know already, Jim Ross is out there going, Google this guy, kids. If you don't know who this is, he's the scariest man in professional wrestling. Google him. They face off. They start hitting each other. Suzuki's already got blood on him because Moxley's elbows burst open. So he looks even more terrifying because he's got blood on him. And they keep hitting each other until finally they start running the ropes. Suzuki drops down, gets him into a sleeper, puts him in the Gotch style, and drops him on his head and stands tall. Suzuki drops John Moxley. We find out later in the show, Moxley cuts a promo on him and says, cool, you want to do that? Guess what happens to bullies in Cincinnati? We bury them. Because next week on Dynamite, they're going to be in Cincinnati, which is John Moxley's hometown. That's his hometown, so he wants to go back home and fight Minoru Suzuki in his hometown. He just won the GCW championship for Matt Cardona last night. If there is someone on this planet who is living their best life, it's John Moxley.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I agree.
You're
He's
having
getting to
dream
do everything
matches.
he wants to.
Everything. You get to go back to your old promotion and win the title. You get to have dream matches in your hometown. Your hot wife has a baby, and you're getting to do whatever you want in a new company. My God.
I can't wait to hang out with him in Vegas.
Right. Unreal.
It's going to be a blast.
So very exciting. I can't wait for next week. Minoru Suzuki and Jon Moxley on free TV.
Yeah.
What were we saying earlier about being excited about wrestling?
Yeah.
You're giving away that match on free TV?
Yeah.
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 I'm there.
Build correctly, that's a pay-per-view main event.
Yes. Holy shit.
Promoted correctly and built correctly, that's a main event of a pay-per-view. You're going to get on Dynamite on TNT next week.
Yeah.
In 3 days.
It's crazy. We got people in the chat saying best debut ever for Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, totally.
The views at the end of the show, I think, were even more like spectacular, but I marked out I almost expired.
Yeah.
When Minoru Suzuki
I think I was
out.
in chat going, somebody check on Ian.
Oh, my stars and garters. Is it hot in here? Is it just me? I feel a bit faint. Oh.
Oh, goodness.
But I'm better now because we got to talk about more things. Like the next match, which was the Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker. Excuse me, Dr. Britt Baker. DMD. The women's championship match. And Nick, it's funny. A long time ago, you saw Chris Statlander and you're like, she's a future champ.
Yep.
That's a champ.
Yep.
And you saw Britt Baker and you say, that's a champ.
Yep.
And here we are 2 years later, and we're having a championship match between the two women.
The prophecy has been fulfilled.
And it was a damn good match.
Loved it.
It was exactly what it needed to be. No interference. It was just two women going out there and kicking ass. Some great back and forth spots. It was, can Britt survive against someone who's bigger and stronger than her? Can Chris Statlander outthink Britt Baker, who's, wily? She's an intelligent heel champion. And it ultimately came down to Britt being squirrely enough, pulling off that Pittsburgh Sunrise off the ropes, and then locking in the lockjaw in the middle of the ring.
I like that exchange, that submission exchange that they had at the end there.
Oh, they had a couple great ones.
That where she rolled her over and got her into the transition from a crossface, rolled her over into wrapping the arms up and put the lockjaw on her. I thought that whole exchange to finish the match was absolutely brilliant.
Well, it made
That's
Chris
one I
look
want
like
already.
a monster.
It's on my list over here to go watch again and break down.
It made Chris, absolutely. There's
Yeah.
a few things in this match I want to break down because they had a couple exchanges that were really nice.
Yeah.
But that finish, Pittsburgh Sunrise to stomp. She stomped her as well, I think, and then put her in the lockjaw. It made Chris Statlander. Chris didn't tap. I think she just passed out. It made her look like a beast. Like you had to do all of that to put her down. And what it made me think is Chris Statlander has not been built up enough by the company to feel like a champion yet. But she's obviously got the DNA.
She didn't hit any of her big. She didn't hit the Big Bang Theory. She didn't hit the 450. She didn't hit any of her stuff. So
she wasn't able to get any of her stuff off.
I think this continues, honestly.
I don't know if it continues right now. We have other people that are going to be heading for Britt in the meantime. You could have it come back around. There's a couple of nice poetic finishes to Britt's reign that could happen down the road, but I think she should hold it for a while, and I think they need to build Chris up more.
Yeah.
But I think this proved without a shadow of a doubt that Britt's a great champion. Chris Statlander is a fantastic competitor as well and is going to be legitimately a champion at some point that the fans will get behind. She's just not there yet.
Yeah, 2 years ago, she was the hottest prospect on the market, was hours away from signing with NXT, which was very, speculated, and lots of sources were saying, she's going to NXT, and then she debuts on AEW. And then gets injured and is out for, I think, over a year, like 12, 14 months, something like that. Yeah, I think they need to spend another 6 months building her back up to the top. They tried to do a good job of it, talking about how undefeated she was and nobody could match her power, strength for strength spots and all that kind of stuff. I get it. There's going to have to be some time to get her back into where it's going to feel legitimate when she finally does win the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're saying that as a Statlander fan. So
big time.
Yeah. Who do you think would be more appropriate to take the title off of Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa or Chris Statlander?
Well, I almost want to talk about the women's battle royale before we talk about that. because
Then I'll ask you again at the end of that, because
Okay.
up next we got to talk about the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in a steel goddamn cage
Ugh.
for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Where do we start with this freaking match?
It's one of those that is going to be. Listen, guys. I say this with no kayfabe, no hyperbole. This match is going to be studied for a long time. This match is going to be looked back on 10 years from now as one of those matches. I'm serious. Like this is, like, oh my God.
I think you can look back at any of the matches that these two teams have had together and put it in that category. If you can
The
just make
history
like a DVD.
of the feud between the two of them absolutely is going to be relevant 10 years from now. We're going to be talking about it as part of the legacy of tag team wrestling in the future.
We've talked about like Fight Forever feuds, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, that kind of thing. Here's one.
Yep.
Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks. Every time they get in the ring together, they put on, if not an all-time classic, then an extremely memorable, insane, amazing match that's probably the best match on the show.
I'll be surprised if Meltzer doesn't give it 6, to be honest.
I will be surprised it doesn't. I think the only reason why it might not was because the wrestling kind of stops in the middle and we just have a bloodbath. It just becomes a bloodbath in the middle of the match.
Yeah, he might mark that down a little bit.
I think he will, because it's at a certain point it stopped being a wrestling match and it started just being the Young Bucks destroying the Lucha Brothers. I got to get this off my chest right off the bat, Nick.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite cage matches I've seen in a while because it was a true and proper cage match. You do not win by escaping. All you do is escape and show that you're a coward. That's what the goddamn cage is for.
Yep.
A cage match should not be built around escaping. The point of a cage is to keep outside interference away as much as possible and to keep the competitors in. It's the point of a cage. If the cage match is all about escaping, it's not about the wrestling. It's becomes a Three Stooges match. And it's nearly always true. Anytime there's any kind of escape, there's always it's silly to me. This is what a cage should be for. Blood feuds, long-term feuds, feuds where one of the teams has, or one of the people involved has a lot of interference that always happens for them, and it's a way to keep that out so the teams can just get in there and beat the shit out of each other. And it should be brutal. And this was brutal. The first half was just them all exchanging absolutely insane lucha-style moves and Young Buck, like just the classic, what you'd expect from a match with these four guys. Just insane acrobatic moves. And then Brandon Cutler is able to toss in a briefcase from outside, a gym bag. Beautiful throw, by the way, Brandon Cutler.
Landed it straight into Matt Jackson's hands.
And Matt Jackson, when they fumbled it, yeah, he had that. So Brandon Cutler tosses it in, and they open up the gym bag. And, of course, it's a Nike Air Jordan. But it's not just any Nike Air Jordan. They brought back the thumbtack shoe. Entire bottom of the shoe covered in thumbtacks that have been glued on.
With condolences to Candice LeRae.
Yep. Who still has that crimson mask that she got from that shoe is just disgusting. You talk about busted wide open.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they have not brought this out in AEW before, but it is a classic Young Buck PWG move, this shoe. And they got to use it on the big stage, started tearing open the Lucha Brothers masks. And then they gave Penta a kick in the face with this thing that just, if he wasn't legit torn open by the bottom of this shoe, then that was the most incredible sleight of hand or sleight of foot I've ever seen.
Well, it wasn't just that. Matt Jackson got over into the corner and grabbed the tail on the back, like the pigtail or something that's on the back of his mask, and held his face against the shoe.
That's the second one. The first one, they super kicked him in the face. Second one, Matt gets up on the turnbuckle, sticks his foot out, and they just sticks his shoe out, and then they grab Penta and just shove his face into the bottom of the shoe. Because they tried to go for Phoenix first, and Penta threw himself in the way of his brother, which was just a nice moment. Lots of nice moments in this match. But of course, then there's just blood everywhere. Penta is just so busted open at this point.
Of course, I immediately thought of the finale of season 1 of Lucha Underground.
You can't help it. Anytime
I immediately had that memory.
Penta's mask torn wide open.
Yeah.
With the blood everywhere, you're immediately sitting there going like, yes, my
When's
master.
Vampiro coming out?
When's Vampiro coming out to show he's controlling Penta this whole time? So then basically the match keeps going after this. Then we get back to the wrestling. And this is why, he's still probably going to get a really good review from Dave, is that they keep wrestling after this. And it's still very much like scripted. They're all kind of like round robin kicking each other and whatnot. But then at a certain point, Phoenix goes to the top of the cage because Penta's like, yeah, we're going to give him the package pile driver stomp combo, but you do it from the top of the cage. So Phoenix is like, that sounds like a good idea. And he goes to the top of the cage, and the whole crowd's going, oh, Jesus, no. And I'm sitting here going, you can't do that, Phoenix. You're going to break your goddamn legs.
Your femurs will snap in half.
Like, Penta and Matt Jackson will be fine. You're going to lose your limbs. Your calves are going to explode up through your thighs and into your chest. It's going to be disgusting.
Yes.
But he doesn't come off the top, because it gets broken up, and Nick climbs up to the top after Ray, and Phoenix knocks him down, and then all three guys look up as Phoenix comes off the top of the goddamn cage with a crossbody, and Penta pulls the buck to the side. 1, 2, 3. The Lucha Brothers are your new tag team champions. The crowd goes absolutely nuts.
Yes.
And it was an incredible moment. I love that they were trying to rush them out of the ring because they had to change for the next one. And Pentagon loses his damn mind. He goes over to the corner of the ring and is like really animatedly, like waving at the crowd, like bring, come here. We're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. His daughters were ringside, and apparently it was bawling because they just saw Daddy get destroyed in this ring. He's covered in blood, and you see Rick knocks him up behind him, and he's like, dude, we got to go. We got to get out. And Penta's like, just like, no, I have to deal with my family. And his family gets around him. He's kissing his daughters. They're getting covered in blood. But he's comforting them and saying, it's okay, Daddy's
he's like,
okay.
This is what I do.
Right. And before we're going up the ring to celebrate with Abrahantes and Phoenix. But what a moment for him, like to have, he had to have the Mick Foley moment where he's like, hey kids, Daddy's fine. He just won a championship. He loves you. He'll see you in a second. He's just going to get stitched up real quick.
We need to talk about, we can't talk, congratulations to the Lucha Brothers. I think we definitely called that. We were looking down the card and saying something has to change hands. It's most likely going to be this one. Congratulations, but we can't get out of this match without talking about that new entrance that they had. They were wrapped to the ring with a new entrance. They had these incredible, it looked like Roadrunner feathers that they had
oh my God.
on the back. It was insane.
They had Aztec
headdresses that they had, like Mayan headdresses.
Mayan headdresses on.
Oh.
Or Aztec. Whatever.
Oh.
I'm not sure which I'm trying to remember where they're from. Well, they're from Mexico City, so
they're from Mexico City, yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Mayans or Aztecs were more north. I think Aztecs were more north. So I think it's Aztec. But at any rate, the bottom line is that they came out with I'm not sure, Nick. Do you think it was a new, because it sounded like it was a takeoff on their existing theme song. Yeah. It was just the pay-per-view entrance.
A remix,
right?
or something.
Make them feel like a big deal. 2 rappers, just like it was a whole production. Made them feel like stars. And that's the question I had about this is, yes, there's a long-term feud going with Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks, but it kind of felt like Lucha Brothers came out of nowhere. They were just hanging with Pac and doing their own thing, and then all of a sudden they're in this championship match with the Young Bucks, and they're winning. And now they're the new tag champs. Did that feel like, considering how long the Bucks had held the titles and how dominant they were, do you feel like this was earned?
I think the only thing I'm confused about is that they were mixing it up with Andrade previously, and it feels like Andrade has completely shifted focus to Pac, and that's going to separate Death Triangle.
Well, also,
I don't know like where they go from here with the whole Death Triangle storyline. Does Pac just go back to being a singles wrestler and Death Triangle is no more? I
wouldn't mind if Pac went and got some gold and had Death Triangle get draped.
Yeah.
Have him go after Miro.
I hadn't even thought about that. Holy shit. Okay.
But there's neither here nor there. It does undermine Andrade. Andrade, if anyone, has had kind of like a wet rag debut in AEW where hasn't really had a good feud yet.
Yeah, how's he
really
feel right now?
Like
CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole.
Yeah,
He's
like,
feeling a
is
little
he-
overshadowed right now.
Yeah, like now he's got a lawyer and Chavo Guerrero as opposed to Vicky Guerrero, so they changed that already. But here's the thing: like it took them a while to get Miro right too. So I'm not saying that they've completely bungled Andrade, but they did undermine him here by him saying, "You'll never, hey, Young Bucks, Lucha Brothers, you'll never win the titles from the Young Bucks unless you're with me." And they're like, "Oh," and they turn around and go do it. And Pac has travel issues and can't make it to the show, and Andrade's match gets canceled. So that's a little bit of unfortunate stuff there too, but. At the same time, like, it kind of undermines Andrade for them to go and win the championships. So I don't know, I'm of two minds about it, where I'm really happy the Lucha Brothers are the champs.
Yeah.
God knows they deserve it. We were saying they were one of the projects that the AEW had kind of bungled in its first year is you got these two guys and you're not doing a damn thing with them other than the occasional match, and then they go back to nowhere, mid-carddom at best.
Yeah.
So it's about time that it feels like that they get like their just desserts, but it does feel to me a little bit like they didn't build up enough to it with them. Kind of came out of nowhere.
I'm not mad at it. I'm just going with it.
Yeah, I'm too happy that they're champs to be too mad.
There's too many tag teams to get really bent out of shape about that with.
Yep. That's true. There's so many tag teams. Yeah. They're all so good.
Kyle, I see your bits. I'm saving it.
Well, he's got one. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, he says, 100 bits. Thank you, brother. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker on Ilya Dragunov, Walter, Owen, Sami Zayn have a feud dynamic where their tag matches signals, where big matches signals moments later on. And that's a legitimate thing to say because we were talking about Thunder Rosa possibly being a future challenger for Britt.
I was saving
someone who
it
takes
because that was kind of what I wanted to say too.
Oh, really? Oh.
Remember what I said earlier about how we were waiting until after the.
Well, let's come back to. Well, no, let's come back to it because we have to talk about the Women's Casino Battle Royale. Let's use that as a way to segue into it.
Okay.
Because the Casino Battle Royale came up next, and the winner of this would get a shot at Britt Baker. And, of course, Thunder Rosa coming into this was one of the favorites. Neither of us picked her because we felt it was obvious. You did pick her. Excuse me. I thought you picked Anna Jay.
No.
You did. You picked Thunder Rosa. So there you go. She was a favorite coming into this because you believe she should be someone who goes and faces Britt Baker.
Yeah.
But she didn't win.
Nope.
You had in the first, you had the four suits come out. You had Hikaru Shida, Sky Blue, Emi Sakura, the Bunny, and Abaddon come out, and then Sky Blue and Abaddon got tossed before the next group.
I don't
came
even
out.
remember seeing Abaddon in the ring.
I do. She did a couple of really nice.
I must not have been paying attention, or I was looking at Discord or something. But it happened. It must have happened really fast.
I mean, she was out fairly quickly, but it was also still like she got to do some Abaddon stuff. She got in there, did her shit, and got out. Sky Blue, very over, new acquisition from Chicago, so they loved her there. Great look. But then the diamond suit came out. Anna Jay coming out hot, immediately got into a tussle with Bunny, which lasted the entire rest of the match. Kiera Hogan came out, Kylan King, Diamante, and Nyla Rose. And this round we had Emi Sakura, Kiera Hogan, Kylan King, and Shida get tossed pretty quickly. I was shocked when they tossed Shida like nothing. Then the Hearts came out. Thunder Rosa came out to a huge round of applause. Penelope Ford. Riho came out to a big pop, too.
That was surprising.
Very. Jamie Hayter and Big Swole. But Riho just got tossed like off screen.
Yep.
The crowd did not like that
There was
either.
a lot of eliminations that we didn't see. We just heard it on the commentary get called.
Or it happened very quickly. But it's hard. It's hard to cover one of these matches. Like it has, like in the production truck, has to be a nightmare. Rio gets tossed. Then Diamante betrays Nyla Rose to her detriment. Gets into a big fight with Swole, and she and Swole get eliminated about the same time. And then the Spades come out. Tay Conti, Red Velvet, Layla Hirsch, Jade Cargill came out to a nice little pop, and Rebel, who got eliminated pretty quickly, trying to do some weird split on the bottom rope move, and she just gets kicked out. And then the Bunny finally gets overwhelmed by Tay Conti and Anna Jay. She gets tossed. Anna Jay gets tossed immediately afterwards. And then Layla Hirsch gets tossed, and Jamie Hayter gets tossed. Kind of ignominiously, I might say.
I expected her to have a little bit more time here.
Yeah, it was a little shocking. But I think they had to get her out of there fairly quickly because otherwise people have been asking questions. And it made the last little sequence make more sense, too, because then came the Joker. And as I said before, the Joker was Ruby Soho coming out to a massive pop. Very
and
nice.
Rancid.
And coming out to that Rancid song. I was so happy about that, Nick. I was so happy about that. So happy. She comes down to the ring, immediately gets into it with everybody. She gets into it with Nyla Rose. She gets into it with Jade Cargill. She gets into it with Thunder Rosa. So Jamie Hayter gets tossed. Jade Cargill surprisingly gets tossed as well. Penelope Ford gets tossed. Tay Conti gets tossed. And then it's down to Nyla, of course, being a beast this entire time. Nyla Rose, Ruby Soho, and Thunder Rosa. And I think we all thought, okay, at this point, it's Ruby or Thunder.
Yeah.
Because Nyla's not getting another shot.
No.
And sure enough, at a certain point, Nyla gets tossed out of the ring, and it's Thunder Rosa versus Ruby Soho. And the crowd ate it up.
As did I.
I did too.
And I'm sitting here going, this is the match we've all wanted?
Yeah. I feel like that was
this
all,
a feud, make this a match?
Yep, that was a preface.
Yep.
Thunder Rosa versus Ruby Soho. They had a face-off. It felt like a big moment. A big moment. And then they started getting into it, throwing strikes, and they had a nice little sequence, nice little match, like a mini match. Ended up on the outside. A whole bunch of who's going to fall off. Like Thunder in particular was really mugging like, oh, I'm almost falling off.
All the battle royal tropes.
Yeah, exactly. Before finally Thunder Rosa gets shoved into the corner, hits her head on the turnbuckle, and falls off. Ruby Soho wins, debuts, and wins the Women's Casino Battle Royale, getting a shot at Britt Baker. She goes up on the turnbuckle and, of course, signals in the air, DMD, and the crowd is loving it. So, Nick, this brings us to our question that Kyle just mentioned. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, you believe they could have one of those feuds like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, like the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers, where they always find themselves in each other's orbit. But it's kind of nascent, isn't it? It's kind of new. Do you feel like this is something that they need to build more, or is it already there?
No, I feel like Thunder Rosa is almost single-handedly responsible for pushing Britt over the hurdle, over the hill, in the sense of getting her there to where she is now. Like the big brutal match that they had with each other was one of those that are just. I mean, that one is one of the best women's matches they've ever had in AEW. So I'm sitting here looking at those two as they will have one of those, maybe not be a fight forever feud, but her going up for the title against Britt Baker, whether it's now or down the road, is one of those poetic moments where she gets it back. She can go back for it. Because before I think they were fighting over the NWA Women's Championship, or that their fight was just a blood feud because of things that happened around the NWA Women's Championship.
It was a Mean Girl situation where Britt Baker was like, "You don't go here." It was basically what it came from. They created a feud that made it feel like it was over a championship, even though it was just over bad blood.
Yeah. So they've got that going for them. Make it about the championship next time, and that match is just tailor-made, ready to go. That feud. As far as Ruby, we've been fans of Ruby for a long time since she was in NXT. She looks fantastic. We need to see her work some matches, because we certainly haven't seen her work some on WWE in a minute. So I'd like to see her work some matches before we start. Do I think she's going to take the title off of Britt Baker? No.
No.
I mean,
not
welcome,
yet.
But I want to see her work some matches first. Get her in there, get her some TV matches, work some matches on Dark. Let's see how she looks, all of that stuff.
I would even like it if she didn't go straight at Britt. If she said, "I've got the match, but I want to get used to AEW first."
I'm gonna tuck it in my shirt pocket and hold on to it for a minute.
Or I could see the match itself leading to Ruby having some other feuds in AEW. Someone else gets involved or something like that. You know what I mean? So I could see it leading her away from the title picture. But that brings us back to our point, dude. Thunder Rosa. Is she the one you want to see? You said wait until after the Women's Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Is Thunder Rosa the one you want to see take the title off of Britt, or is it Chris?
The tough part about this, because if I'm Nick booking this, I think I've already said it, I feel like Britt's due for a face turn. So I'm wondering if they're going to do a screw job with Jamie Hayter somehow to do that in the meantime until we get back to and then she's a face. And
I picked Jamie Hayter in this match to win because I thought they were going to actually do that right now and just have the whole screw job. But I even admitted it was a really outside crazy idea, very Nick Booking-esque.
Yeah. So is Thunder Rosa going to be the one? I don't know. I think the interest is on Britt Baker and what happens with her over the next few months between now and Full Gear. To be determined. But Thunder Rosa being the one to take the title off, yeah, maybe they have a sportsmanship moment afterwards, and that's kind of where we. I don't know.
That's
I don't know how
where
you do
Britt
it.
turns. I don't know. That's going to be a lot of character work to make Britt Baker a face.
Not
I
really.
think.
She's
But
already over as hell with the crowd. Like
she's
it's
over as hell, but I'm talking about make it make sense as opposed to her just being like, suddenly I'm nice.
double turn with Thunder Rosa in the match.
I don't know.
That's hard to do, but I think you can pull it off with those two.
A heel Thunder Rosa. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened.
Yep.
But look at the names in this match, Nick. Look at the amount of names in this match, and look at the names that we were discussing at the top of the card. Is it finally safe to say that AEW's women's division is above reproach?
Yep.
It's stacked.
Yep.
Like, because that was our big complaint the first year and a half.
Well, the
Your
first
women's
year and a
division
half, we had basically the club suit that came out for the Battle Royal. Emi Sakura, Riho, Hikaru Shida, right? Nyla Rose came out later, but I mean, that was basically it at the time. And then you had whatever the hell Brandy was doing in the Nightmare Family thing. Shaving, what's her name's head, and Luther. But I look at it now and I go, wow, okay. I'm ready to confidently say that is a strong women's division.
And it's funny because we said, look, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They're saying we're going to build a division. We don't have a lot of stars, but we'll make them. Hikaru Shida was nominally a star, but she was not a star to a Western audience.
Yeah.
She's a star now.
Yep.
The Bunny, Abaddon, Anna Jay, arguably, I mean, you can even throw like Kiera Hogan, Kylan King, Diamante. They picked up Kiera Hogan from Impact, but Nyla Rose, they built her into a star. Thunder Rosa came from outside. She has become a star by coming to AEW. She was already like known in wrestling circles, but she's become an even bigger star. Penelope Ford is now a fully developed character. Riho is their first champ, and she's still over. Jamie Hayter came back from after COVID, and she's already, getting reactions. Big Swole is a big character. Tay Conti, they took her from NXT and took her from being on a track to being nothing, and she's now a very popular star. Red Velvet has been in front of a lot of people recently, and I don't know if you guys saw her match on Dark with Sky Blue, but it was sick. Yeah. It was really good.
And that spear she laid on Jamie Hayter during the match tonight, I went,
Stanky.
oh! It was one of those, oh, God, she speared her to death.
Stanky. I'm trying to remember what her finishing move is called. I think it's a twisted bread, I think. She did it on Sky Blue, and it's amazing looking. So she's become a bit. Layla Hirsch, right? Legit Layla. Just went and had an NWA women's title match. She became such a big star. Jade Cargill looks like a star, and they just kind of sat back and were like, she's a star. She's a star. So, and now you picked up Ruby Soho. Chris Statlander is now I think officially over. Britt Baker is now officially a huge, huge nuclear star for them.
Yep.
They have us a goddamn good women's division.
They do.
I don't think there's an argument anymore.
Nope.
And that's wonderful.
Yep.
It's too bad that they only had, like if this had been on the pre-show, they'd have only had one women's match on the main card. And I'm glad this got pushed to the main show.
Yeah.
Frankly. It deserved to be there.
It was in a nice spot too. I liked where it was. It was a bit of an exhale after that Young Bucks Lucha Brothers match. And I feel like it was a little bit rushed to get through the first parts of it because they didn't really take their time on the entrances. I feel like the Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks Steel Cage match probably went a little long on them, and it felt like they were going. But they picked up the time here. The ending of this was fantastic. The last 10 women was fantastic.
And I mean, we've seen some women's battle royales in multiple different companies that just fall apart. They just don't work. This one worked.
This totally worked.
It clicked, I think, for the most part.
Yep.
For the most part. The next match we had in the evening was Jericho versus MJF, with Jericho's career on the line. Slowing things back down. More traditional wrestling matches from here on out.
Yeah.
I would say. And this match, I don't really have much to say about the match itself, Nick. Was there anything that stood out to you about the match itself? To me, it seemed
obviously
pretty
the fudge finish and
straightforward.
the way
I wanted to wait.
doing,
yeah, I wanted to wait to get to that.
Okay.
Like, but the match. That's the thing. That's kind of you kind of proved my point. Is that the match itself was fine. It was basically just Max getting heat, Jericho coming back, Jericho, getting up over on Max, and then Max getting his heat back and pissing off the crowd. And there was, I think the one big spot was the heat seeker on the apron. The big story here was that Max was working Jericho's arm for the Salt of the Earth arm bar, and Jericho was working MJF's lower back for most of the match, almost accidentally, but then he started targeting it. So very traditional. Target the body parts that you need to use for your finishing move.
Right.
But it came down to the finish, where, let's see. I'm trying to get the ending right here because I have it written down.
Well, while you're looking that up, let me call out Mel D throwing 100 bits, said little Layla Hirsch German suplexed Nyla Rose during the Battle Royale. That and Velvet's spear to Jamie was amazing to see. Thank you, Mel. Yeah, that nice suplex. I'm sorry I forgot to mention that. Holy shit. It was
such a quick moment. You missed it very quickly. So thank you for bringing it up, Mel. So the ending of this match, Wardlow and Jake Hager come out. They start tussling. As the ref gets distracted, MJF grabs the bat, clocks Chris Jericho in the forehead with it.
Heel turn by Floyd.
Yeah. You damn bat. MJF throws a Judas effect on Chris Jericho. He falls to the mat. MJF goes to pin him. 1, 2, 3, and the bell rings because referee Aubrey did not see Chris Jericho's foot on the ropes, and the crowd was pissed. You had people there sitting there going, "What are you guys for real? Is this really how you're going to end Chris Jericho's career with a screw job? This doesn't make any sense. This is." And then Paul Turner comes up to the side and goes, Aubrey, you missed something. And the crowd sees what's happening, and they go, "Oh, God, it's going to, yes, please. Don't let it end like that."
And Aubrey kept going, "Really? Really?" She kept challenging, "Really?" just overplaying the shit out of it. Love Aubrey Edwards. Fantastic.
Just to make the crowd salivate more. It's
I haven't
great
seen somebody emote that much since Mike Chioda. So, but brilliant playing of this by Aubrey Edwards. I think Paul Turner was the referee that came up to the ring and was trying to explain, "I was right here. Yeah, I was right there. Yeah. I saw it. I saw it clear as day. It was on the ropes."
And MJF was overplaying it too. Like, "Are you serious? Come on. I had a beat. Come on." Crowd ate it up. It was a great, that's a couple of match finishes that I have not seen executed so well in a while. This was perfectly executed to make the crowd, they had that crowd swerved. Yeah. That crowd was pissed. Yeah. They were like, "You've got to be kidding me." And then when they restarted it, the crowd was like, "Okay, we know what's happening." And sure enough, they didn't wait long from the restart for the fix to be in. We had Maxwell get the arm bar on, and Jericho, God, he did a great job of almost tapping. Speaking about playing it up and theatricality, he a couple times, he got real close to tapping, and it gave me the little, oh God, kind of goosed me a little bit.
When he pressed up like that, I got throwbacks to Hart Austin, where Austin just passed out when he was in the sharpshooter. Yeah. And then he finally reached out and grabbed the rope. So that was... Yep. Yeah.
And then we had a bunch of near falls, a couple of 2 counts. And finally Max goes back for the arm bar. Y2J is able to pick his legs out, rolls him over, and gets the walls of Jericho on. He tried to go for a lion tamer, and I really wish he'd be able to lock it in, but just didn't. He just couldn't quite get it on, so he just settled for the sit-down walls of Jericho, sat down deep on him, dragged him away from the ropes, and it was over. Max had to tap out. What a poetic ending to this long feud. Nick, were you satisfied? Because I know you in particular were very critical about the MJF and Jericho feud. Do you feel like this was a poetic finish to the whole thing?
There's a bonus episode in the story of Jericho and MJF. And if you had told me that they were going to do this whole thing over the course of an entire year, it seems. I forget when this whole thing started, when MJF was trying to infiltrate the inner circle. But we could do an entire hour-long breakdown of of how they've navigated this to get to this point. I think do I have my qualms about the 5 labors and how they executed that? Yes.
The way we talk about history on our bonus episodes, Nick, you know as well as I do, anyone who listened to that CM Punk episode, we could take probably 5 hours.
Yes.
Talking about the Jericho MJF feud.
You're a very thorough writer.
Yeah.
No, I think I was very satisfied with this. It'll be interesting because I think Jericho leaves now and goes on tour. He's going to be
Probably
gone for a
going to
bit.
go off Fozzy, yeah.
So, yeah, I just MJF move on something else. Like I want to be done with Pinnacle versus Inner Circle for a minute.
Agreed. I think we've seen the last of it. It's fizzled out. Like, move on.
Hopefully this was the blow off of the whole thing. Like,
I hope so. The only
button on the story.
About this,
let's do something different.
Yeah, nice button. Let's move on. Agreed. I thought this was a great finish. Nice little wrap the bow.
Yep.
Move on.
Yep.
The one downside to all this was Jericho was played to the ring by his Fozzy guitarist, and unlike the acapella Fozzy, the acapella Judas, the crowd didn't know how to sing this. They weren't told to have the lyrics ready. They were all off the wrong time. It didn't quite work. It wasn't quite as impressive as some of his other gimmick entrances, like the choir or the acapella one. This one didn't quite work for me. Did you feel the same way?
100%. I would have much rather just heard the song blasting over the PA and the crowd just yelling the lyrics at the top of their lungs. That is always the most rewarding for me, and you can see the grin on Jericho's face when it happens. And I think it would have got a huge sing along with the crowd tonight. The crowd tonight was amazing. Props, Chicago.
Oh, Chicago brought it.
Jacob Uhas, one of our lovely, phenomenal ones, was in attendance tonight. So, Jacob, shout out, man. You and the crowd delivered.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, man. He's got to be on cloud 9 right now.
Yeah.
He was at a hell of a show. Yeah, it was unfortunate. They should have just brought all of Fozzy out. Bring the whole band out to play.
They should have just played the whole song, because having a solo guitarist out there trying to play basically Chris's vocal as a guitar lick, it didn't work.
Well, and also, a little shot at the guitarist there is he was trying to be too fancy with it. Like, if you're trying to, you got to do it like how Boogs plays Shinsuke Nakamura's theme. Make it real clear. It's mostly because Boogs is not as good of a guitarist, but
it works.
But it works because the crowd knows what to sing when.
It's just
and he's
more
just sitting,
quarter note cues of what to say when, right?
He's throwing in too many notes. He's throwing too much pedal on there. So the crowd's like, wait, what part are we at? So it's muddled.
Right. Even I had trouble keeping up with it. I could hear it.
I did too. Right? I was sitting there going like, wait, where are we? What did he just do there? Yeah. He just add an extra measure in. What did he just do?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was unfortunate, but at the same time, the match was good. So can't be too mad about it because they played Judas at the end of it, and everyone got their Judas for the night.
Yep.
And CM Punk got his first match in 7 years against Darby Allin, and that was next. And this show was a smorgasbord because you had, just like I said, New Japan on cocaine matches to open the show. You had insane bloody cage matches. And then you had CM Punk versus Darby Allin, which at one point, Excalibur referred to it as, I didn't write down the word he used for it, but it was to the effect of, it was very like just old school traditional match.
It was a professional wrestling match.
Professional wrestling match. We started with collar and elbow tie-ups. We started with headlocks.
Very catch can kind of stuff.
We started with guys testing each other out, figuring just going to the basics.
Yep.
Orthodox. That's the word he used.
Orthodox. There you go.
Very orthodox. And I thought that was the most appropriate thing they could have done for Punk's first match back. Take him back to basics. Make him run through the basics with Darby. Build up to some big spots late in the match, which we had. Punk ended up taking the suicide dive that he said he was so afraid of backstage. He's like, that suicide dive's terrifying. He took it. He ate one of Darby's suicide dives. Bless him. It was, and I love the sequence where they were each countering out of each other's finishers. Darby goes for the coffin drop. Punk just sits up out of the way and kind of gives that laugh like, yep. And then he goes for the go to sleep, and Darby just counters right out of it. And the ending was a counter. Darby's trying to go for the poison Rana, and Punk counters it into the go to sleep and finally knocks him out. This is, of course, after he's already hit him once with it and knocked Darby to the outside of the ring with it, wasn't able to capitalize. But this was a very slow-paced, measured, even keel match that was just about showing these two guys testing each other. And the whole concept, Nick, does Punk still have it?
Yes.
Right? Back to basics. Does he have the basics? What did you feel about Punk after seeing this match?
It's exactly what I wanted it to be. It wasn't too overly superlative. It wasn't underwhelming. It was a professional wrestling match. And we got enough of we didn't get crazy Darby stuff like we've seen in recent months when he was TNT champion, some of the matches we had with Matt Hardy and others. But it was just enough. And I think we'll see more. I liked how he looks. He actually looks like he's put on 20 pounds of diesel, of beef. And
Punk looked good.
He looks good, right? His upper body looks bigger than it was when he left. Like he
was sick.
He's been working out. He's been taking care of himself.
He looks healthier than he did in MMA too. When he's in MMA, he looked weird.
Well, I think he had dropped weight or something to meet weight class. So
well, you could tell because his tummy was all loose.
Yeah. So I think this was the best I've seen him look in a long time. We haven't, obviously, just from a physical standpoint, he looks like he's having a good time. He looks like he's having fun. Chill out with the F-bombs a little bit, maybe? Like, unnecessary?
Punk?
Yeah.
It's CM Punk. I'd have been shocked if he didn't drop some F-bombs after this match.
I get it. Be cool, be edgy, sure. But I don't need to be close up on you and lip reading mother constantly, just it's a bit much, dude. We all love a good properly timed F-bomb. But you're overusing them a little bit. So
he's sitting there going like, I'm free, I can say what I want.
Yeah.
F this, F that, mother effer. Oh, it's adorable. I thought it was adorable. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a late night pay-per-view. You paid $50 to see this thing,
Yeah. You couldn't hear him. You see him mouthing it.
Yeah.
But no, at the end of the day, CM Punk is back. His first match back. It was, as you said, it was a fine match. It was exactly what it needed to be. It wasn't going to be a barn burner that took down the whole card, nor should it have been.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't have been the highlight of the card. It should have just been a match that told the story of, is CM Punk still able to wrestle? Answer, yes. That was it. That's all it was.
Yep.
That's all we needed. We can have some incredible classics that he builds a huge feud to later on. This is exactly what it needed to be. It was satisfying. Perfect place in the card. I was saying put it at the top of the card. Otherwise, that crowd's going to be chanting CM Punk all night. They weren't. They were so hyped by everything else on the card. They were totally fine with this being laid on the card and right where it was, which is before the last two matches. Because next we had Paul White versus QT Marshall, which was nothing. And I think it was just there to cover for the lack of Pac and Andrade. But
yeah,
and it was nice to see Paul White back in a ring.
JR calling him cool. Big Show.
And calling Ruby Soho Ruby Riot. Yeah, it's JR. Poor guy. He worked at WWE for so long. But yeah, and then we got, so that was the show. We had CM Punk versus Darby Allin, Paul White versus QT Marshall, and then Kenny Omega versus Christian, and then all the big debuts. That was the show.
That was it.
Big show. Crazy show. And as I said, like with the pick'ems, we were right neck and neck. I went ahead and bet on Daniel Bryan showing up, and I happened to get Paul White and QT Marshall right. Only reason I beat you. Everything else we were dead on.
Yep.
It was. But again, as we say a lot, Nick, just because something is predictable doesn't mean it's bad.
No. This was all and what it also means is they've been telling us a good story on a lot of these threads, right? So I when it's predictable like that, it means that we've been paying attention. They've been telling good stories, and I have zero problems with anything being predictable. That doesn't excuse you from executing.
Sure.
And they absolutely executed tonight.
I have no problem with, like, it's how it actually should be. If you're telling a story correctly, it should be fairly clear where things are going.
Yeah.
And barring a swerve or a plot twist, you're gonna kind of know what the idea is and what the end result is going to be more times than not.
Totally.
And that's fine. Not everything has to be a swerve. Not everything has to be a twist. Not everything has to be a betrayal. At the end of the CM Punk and Darby match, Sting comes down to the ring and faces off with CM Punk in the corner. They end up shaking hands. They pull Darby to his feet. They end up, Sting. They all shake hands. CM Punk shakes Darby's hand, gives him a high five, sends him on his way. All love. No weird twists, no turns, no heel turns, no nothing. It was just all love.
Sportsmanship.
Sometimes you can just have that.
Yep.
And it's satisfying. And you don't need to have crazy stuff happen all the time. There was enough crazy stuff other places in the show that was a nice moment to see that. And it's a great character moment for these guys to show that they are human and they're not just psychopaths who are bipolar, just suddenly flip and be like,
I got a little concerned when Papaw Sting comes down the ramp at the end of the match or after it's over, and I'm going, uh-oh, what's going on here? Is somebody going to turn? And I think a lot of people thought that because we're so ingrained with thinking that that's the way wrestling's supposed to be.
We're conditioned. We
are absolutely and and he just gets in the ring going, "Hey, Sting, good match. Here's a handshake." Ding. I don't know. It's fun. This is the kind of shit that I love. I love professional wrestling, and I love sportsmanship, and I want guys to beat themselves within an inch of their lives and then get up and give each other a high five and goes, "Damn, that was fun." That's what I want.
Really fun to beat your ass.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the hug that Sting gave Darby at the top before. Like, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. I'm gonna give you a fist bump. I'm gonna walk away. It's all on you. And Darby just kind of gives this little like puppy hug where he kind of leans his head against Sting's massive chest. Just,
hey, thanks, Papa.
So adorable. Thanks, Papa. So it was great. But yeah, I mean, Nick, we said at the top of the show, like, after that you had the main event. And after all the rest of the show, it just felt like it was just kind of there. And then we had the debuts, and it was insane. And that was a hell of a show.
It was.
I am comfortable to say that top to bottom, that was probably one of the best pay-per-views I've seen since like 2018 NXT takeovers.
Right. Gargano Ciampa stuff.
Yeah, like that era of NXT. That's how good this pay-per-view was. Yeah. And unlike those, which are 2 hours, this is 4 hours.
Didn't feel like it. It flew by.
No, it didn't. It flew by. And there have been some AEW pay-per-views that I've had to slog through. I've just been like, oh my God, another match. This was not one of those.
I wish here. So I'm going to give it a solid A- for one reason.
Really?
I'm going to give it a little minus because I feel like the one misstep they had was that they actually had a match. They rang a bell for QT Marshall and Paul White.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could have, like, they snuck an Andrade promo in there on Pac. They had the John Moxley promo on Suzuki afterwards. There's something you could have had Andrade come down to the ring and take 10 minutes with an entrance and his speech to Pac in the ring. And maybe the Lucha Bros come out and they mug at him a little bit with the titles and do something. You didn't need that. Like, I think looking back on the replay, people will, Tony and everybody will go, yeah, we shouldn't have done that.
No matter what, it was going to be filler. And sure. I just felt like, they could have built it up more as Paul White's return to the ring. And there could have been more to that match besides just Paul White kills everyone.
Right. Like, why was that necessary?
And it was just kind of a fun, like, he gets to slap everyone in the chest and choke slam people and yay, big man kill people. Yay is fun. Right. I felt like it was definitely a filler moment. But here's the thing. I don't feel it was so bad that it was an A-. This was an A. That's what kept it from getting an A+ in my book.
Fair.
Was that.
And if I was giving it bonus points for the debuts at the end and the way that it went off the air,
that's what
fine.
I mean.
It's going back to an A. This was an absolutely solid 5-star show. I absolutely loved this pay-per-view top to bottom.
Yep, it was worth the $50.
Nitpicking about the Paul White QT Marshall thing.
Like I said, that's just me nitpicking. That's just me saying if I had something I needed to bitch about.
Yeah.
And I hope Jay Wolf, I hope that it finally started working for you, man, because you spent that $50 and you deserve to see this show. It is fantastic. But
this is a pay-per-view I'll be watching multiple times over the next month. I keep going back to it.
There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm gonna go back and watch right now.
Yeah, I might put it back on right now while I'm editing this. Once we're done.
What I'm saying. So. That's what I'm saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm gonna go do right now because we have reached the end of our show here, Nick. Recapping AEW's All Out. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with us in the Discord during the show. Thank you for coming and checking us out on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and throwing in your bits and your subs and your love and your comments and everything. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. It's so awesome to have so many phenomenal ones of you. We really do appreciate you more than you could possibly understand. As always, linktree.com/BWO for all of your BWO needs. It'll link you to everything that you could possibly want to interact with the show, Facebook discussion group, Discord, etc. Spread that link out to everyone that you know, please. Let's grow this show. The more people that know about us, the more we get to do, the more we can do for you guys. So give linktree.com/BWO to other people. Spread it out. Spread the word. Spread the love.
Hey, I got to call one more out real quick before we get out of here. Jay over in YouTube earlier, sorry I missed it, Jay, said threw in a $5 in the super chat. Thank you very much, Jay. He said Triple H has to be in tears sobbing like a toddler. Vince screwed Triple H. Yeah, I don't think that's the message we want to send.
But it's funny.
It's funny.
Here's the thing. It is funny.
It's thank you for the $5.
I immediately got that image of Triple H cry, that meme of Triple H crying.
Right, it's crying Jordan, but it's Triple H, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That make crying Hunter the new crying Jordan.
Oh man. Here's the thing. Things change. Nothing lasts forever. And
right.
if we look back and say, NXT had that 7-year run of being what it was, and then it became something different, whether that's good or not, we can still say it was there. It was a thing. We don't know. We don't know what the next NXT is going to be. We don't know how Triple H is going to pivot and recover. There's a lot that's going on in WWE and in wrestling as a whole. But that's more the message I think, Nick, that we're talking about.
Skeptically optimistic is what I'll say.
Skeptically optimistic. Yeah, let's see how Triple H pivots, what he does next. It's something that we'll be talking about in the future, is that weird stretch of time where NXT had to compete against AEW and AEW beat it, and then NXT it got moved and then it got changed, and it was just woof. A lot of crazy stuff happening.
Yep.
In wrestling in general. It is a very exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
Indeed.
And checking out everything. I don't know about you, Nick, but I feel very, very lucky.
I do too. As everybody should. And whatever your taste in wrestling might be, enjoy that. And leave everybody else alone. They may not like what you like, and vice versa. So just don't be a dick. That's what I always say. Just don't be a dick.
The first rule of Busted Wide Open is don't be a dick.
The second rule is see Rule 1.
Yeah.
And with that bombshell, we'll see you guys next week for our coverage of Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, and Rampage as we make our way into the fall season of shows here. But until then, my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God!
Would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.